I think the most confidence-inspiring muscle group in the whole body are the lats. Literally every time I train my lats, I feel good about myself. There's just like this feeling of, I feel good about myself. There's a pump and all sorts of muscles can get pumped up. But the lats, when they get pumped up, you automatically assume some sort of like dominant posture. Most likely your hands are out to the side like you're freaking Ronnie Coleman walking around. Even though your lats have not grown 50 kilos in size, you feel great about yourself. Just your whole walking changes. You think about walking, how you're going to walk through the doorways. There's just something about it. You just feel fantastic when you do anything with lats, whether it's rows, pull-ups, pullovers, anything like that. Today, I just came in and I thought I'd just do some pull-ups. I did them the other day for the first time in several months, and I felt good. I think they're really cheap on recovery. I get dizzy. I get a really bad headache now with what's going on. But when I do pull-ups, there's nothing. I don't know whether it's got to do something with the way you brace when you have weight on top of you. But just hanging off the bar just feels fantastic. My shoulders always feel great. My elbows feel great. It's a beautiful lift. And the fact that it makes you feel mentally well as well, I don't know if there's any other movement that does all that stuff. When you do deadlifts, yeah, sure, it feels good to lift a lot of weight off the ground. When you do squats, of course, it feels good to squat all that weight. But you don't walk away feeling victorious in a way. I don't know how to describe it. But when I walk away after training lats, after doing pull-ups, I feel freaking fantastic. It's like my whole self-esteem has kind of increased. It's really strange. Like I walk away really confident and really happy. It's like the entire body benefits from the damn exercise. My shoulders are happy. My wrists are happy. Like literally every joint, my spine is happy. Everything's being decompressed. And now it seems like you're mentally also, in a way, decompressing or uplifting yourself. It's just an interesting feeling. And that's kind of why I fell in love with it when I was kind of back in the day when I was like a teenager. That was the only exercise really that I liked doing, that and alongside push-ups. That's all I really wanted to do. And I remember specifically loving pull-ups because it gives you that feeling like you're bigger than you really are, because your arms all of a sudden have this mass on the side. They have to deal with the upper back, and you kind of feel bigger than you are. And you almost feel like you're walking around with a freaking lat spread. It really feels like that. But the mental side is like, for somebody that hasn't done this movement for a little while, for somebody that's kind of been doing other stuff, to come back to it and to have those first DOMs in the muscle and feeling that little bit of a pump up even after the pump is kind of gone. I feel like, the soreness kind of makes you feel like you're bigger. It's a great feeling. And now that I'm thinking why I'm doing it, this is the thing with me. Like it's all about motivation and the plan. If I sell myself on some idea and I wholeheartedly believe what I'm doing is the right thing to do because the goals are going to get helped by said activity, then I'm all in. I'm really all in. This is why I've continued doing squats for so long, because squats are a primary exercise. And when I was doing Bulgarian split squats, when I was doing lunges, I was motivated to do those exercises because it was feeding the squats. Now I'm doing these pull-ups, not just because I want to be good at pull-ups, which is kind of like a goal of mine as well, although it's a fair bit down the ladder of priorities. Now I'm like, man, these pull-ups can feed your deadlift, and I love my deadlift. It's not exactly as high as the squat, but that's pretty much the second goal that I have, is to deadlift 300 kilos. So now I'm like, man, this upper back business, the whole calisthenics community having quite good, amateur kind of deadlifts, somebody that comes from the calisthenics, quite advanced or intermediate kind of a level of calisthenics. These people that go into the deadlift, they seem to do way better than somebody off the street. And that's without training the erectors, without training the glutes, the adductors, the hamstrings, the quads, all these other muscle groups that we associate with a successful deadlift, primary muscles. And it seems if you have lots of rigidity through that scapular region, if you can pinch down those lats and hold them, prevent them from unpeeling or lifting off when you first kind of initiate the pull off the ground, if you can resist that force, then it seems like you're making the lever shorter, you're making the whole lift seem easier on the other primary movers that we've identified, the glutes, the hamstrings, and so on. So now I've got like 2 ideas now, like this third or fourth or fifth even goal that I have of doing 30 strict dead hang pull-ups. Now I'm like, man, maybe this distant goal of mine is related to the second goal. So it's kind of like, this is an unbelievable feeling. So, I'm kind of being forced to do something other than deadlifting. But, I'll do the pull-ups because they're cheap and my body can do them now, as I'm kind of going through this whole COVID thing. But I'm really interested to see when I come back and when I start the deadlift, how these few days of doing pull-ups, how that kind of impacts me, how I feel with the bar in my hands. And if that helps me, at least with the mind-muscle connection at a bare minimum, if that helps me connect with the lats and maybe force down those lats even harder so I can get in a better position off the floor in a deadlift and continue on through. I'm just thinking now, I don't know if you guys watch the NBA, but the Golden State Warriors are doing really well. They've got, not in the last few weeks, they've kind of struggled a little bit, but this season they've been an absolute incredible watch because they've got all these guys who have stepped up while basically half of their roster was injured. So all these guys who would otherwise not get minutes on the court have gotten minutes for a whole freaking season, and now they've been incorporated into the full starting lineup with everyone around, and these boys are playing like crazy. And it just goes to show you, without that, if you want to say, bad year that they had last 2 years with the injuries, they wouldn't have had these high picks. They wouldn't have had these players come up through the ranks. This is kind of what I'm thinking about with the deadlift and COVID, whatever the symptoms that I have. It's kind of like it's forced me to step away from what I love to do. It's forced me to step away from Klay Thompson and Steph Curry and Draymond Green. And now I'm playing with Poole and some of these other guys who are absolutely killing it. And so Poole for me is the pull up. So it's going to be interesting to see how it affects me. But incorporating the second goal with the fifth goal seems to be really, really good. Every which way that I turn and think about the pull-ups, I can't find any negatives to it. The biggest thing for me, you guys know this, is I pay a lot of attention to how a movement, how expensive it is. And this idea that I use, this term that I use of expense, is basically in relation to how many recovery points do I have to spend after getting after that particular exercise. I've spoken to you guys many times before. There are some exercises that just nail me in the coffin, essentially. Anything like a deadlift off the floor for volume kills me. Off the floor, like that is probably the worst thing that kills me. If you ask me to do a set of 5 or set of 3 off the floor, at a 85%, 1 RM, if I was to do that for several sets, that would literally spell a whole week of just Ivan being smashed. So I think I've learned that lesson a few times. This is why I do a lot of singles, because I still want to practice the movement. I still want to get its benefits without incurring a massive freaking expense, massive cost to the system, because there's a lot of other things going on. This is a Squat Everyday program. That's my primary thing. And I don't want to take too many recovery points away from that. But these pull-ups, man, I'm pretty sore today, but systemically, it doesn't feel like when you get smashed with the hamstrings and the adductors and the glutes. When that's sore, system shutdown, man. Just go and sleep and drink some milk or something, man. That's how it feels. With this, I got sore lats, but I feel good. Systemically, I feel really good. I feel uplifted, what I was saying before. I feel happy. It's weird, man. I got this splitting headache still, and it's kind of making my life pretty crappy at the moment. But the lats are making me feel kind of better. It's really, really strange. I said this to you guys before. In terms of, body parts being sore, for me, hamstrings are the most debilitating. When I have sore hamstrings, Jesus, man, like walking, standing up, everything is difficult. Quads, I don't really get sore quads all that often, but when they do, it kind of feels all right. What else? Glutes, that's also kind of, crappy. But hamstrings by far top of the list as the worst muscle to have sore. It kills me. It makes me want to sleep all the time. With lats, I don't feel bad with lats at all, man. Even though it is it's a massive muscle group. Humongous. If you look at a picture on Google, type in lats, man, latissimus dorsi, and you look at how big the thing is, man. Like, it literally wraps the whole spine, man. The whole side of you. Wraps all the way around. For some people, apparently, it goes all the way down to the freaking pelvis, man. That's insanity, man. So no wonder why, if we train this muscle group and we get it really strong, you're probably going to have a stronger bent over position. You're going to have a stronger deadlift, RDL, block pull, all that. Because it's kind of like having another, belt wrapping you from basically almost up to your freaking neck. But basically from the shoulder all the way down to your pelvis. It's like another belt, and it's humongous. So let's see how this all kind of pans out. I always said this to you guys. I actually enjoy doing it. The reason why I dropped it off, well, because when I started the deadlift every day, a bunch of things had to give way. And I've already spoken about how expensive it is. I think I've gotten used to the stimulus of deadlifting a little bit now. I've accustomed my body, to that whole thing. So it's not as foreign to me. But initially when I started, I was very, very scared because I've got a history of being dead after deadlifts. So I went, okay, let's do the deadlifts every day. I let go of the pin squats. I let go of any other, exercise which trashes, without a reason, muscles that are used in the deadlift. And one of the things is the lats and traps, man. When I first started doing deadlifts every day, I was feeling them. Even last few weeks, man, like if I really push the 260 kilo deadlift or 265 when I hit, I sore lats. Because if you know how I set up for my deadlift, I raise my shoulders to my ears and I really focus on clamping down on those lats. Because when I first pull that bar off the floor, the first thing that wants to give is my shoulders rise and roll over. I'm trying to resist that. And I think this is why my lats get smoked. But now I'm kind of realizing maybe I can reintroduce these pull-ups even when I'm doing heavy deadlifts. Because they're cheap. Because it doesn't load the spine and blah, 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 blah. So maybe this is the next step for me to think about, incorporate those two things. Especially now that I'm kind of seeing examples and you guys are saying the same thing, that the lats are a freaking, I don't know if you want to say a prime mover, but definitely a stabilizer in the deadlift. And now that we see these calisthenics guys, these climbers who are doing 2 times body weight freaking deadlifts on day one, like that is very abnormal, man. I don't know how many people from other genres of fitness can come in and just do a 2 times body weight pull. I don't know if a soccer player can do that, a basketball player can do that, a tennis player can do that, or maybe a gymnast, a calisthenics athlete, a climber. These guys who are very closely related to the lats, anything kind of that has you hanging, seems like makes you really good at pulling. And we've all kind of seen videos, maybe not all, but of the silverback, like that freaking gorilla, man, that primate, man, that is a beast of an animal, one of the strongest animals that we have walking the earth. And if you look at the anatomy of that guy, I know their muscle insertions and all that is kind of different, but they have a similar skeleton to us in terms of approximation of how we all kind of look. Humongously overdeveloped backs, man. Like their lats are it's all back. It just looks all back. And they can lift some crazy freaking numbers. But what do we know about them? Monkeys and the rest of them, they hang. And once again, like they have really kind of long arms and short legs and whatever. We've kind of evolved, if you believe in evolution, away from that. But I still think, and I heard one of you guys talk about this, I still think we are built for pulling much, much more than pushing in terms of heavy weight. I know we are built more for endurance and running and walking literally down our prey. Not running after our prey. We're not quick sprinters. We literally walk our prey down, and some of these fast-running animals will just literally give up after a freaking day or two walk because they're not built for endurance like that. Whereas we are. We can just walk anything down. Anything on the planet, we can walk it down. And then eventually we'll lean over and we just stab it and kill it, bleed it, and eat it. So I get that portion of it. But in terms of strength, I think our body's just served much better by doing pulls, like pull-ups and deadlifts and things of that nature, rows, than doing stuff like squats and bench press and overhead press. I don't know about you guys. I've done all of those lifts. I've done all of that. Nothing makes me feel as good as doing a freaking hanging pull-up. Everything is happy. There's no pains in me ever. I've never injured myself. I don't know if you guys have, unless you're doing some explosive stuff like muscle-ups or whatever. I've never hurt myself doing a pull-up. Every single time I get finished with it, my shoulders feel incredible. My elbows feel incredible. My wrists, they never really get sore as well either. But my spine feels good. My hips, everything feels good. Like, in fact, the other day, 2 days ago, when I first did the pull-ups, I woke up and one of the equally as sore as my lats were my abs. And I'm like, what the hell, man? But it makes sense. You're hanging there. Something has to contract, like it's crazy, man. Like, it's such a holistic movement. I don't know. It doesn't really matter like what you're doing. Today I worked up to 30 kilos. And probably I was letting my shoulders kind of peel up, which is the whole point is for me to keep my, shoulders pinched down and work the lats. Whatever, later on I did some sets, but it's just an incredible movement, man. If I can prove to myself that these pull-ups are directly related to my deadlifts and my deadlift progression, man, I will be doing the shit out of them every day. I guarantee you that, because I love that movement. I would say it's very close to my love for squats. That I have a longer history with pull-ups than I have with squats. I can guarantee you that. And I think I've got a potential to be good at them. I really do. I enjoy it. That's the number one key component. And I have these shorter arms, which probably benefit as well. So anyway, let's see if I can incorporate them into the mix and do some pull-ups. I'm thinking right now, doing them every other day as I'm kind of getting my body accustomed to them again. One is going to be loaded, the other one's going to be body weight, one's going to be volume, one's going to be intensity, and let's see how it goes. Anyway, guys, thank you to everyone, Patreon, YouTube, Instagram. Thank you for everyone wishing me well, wishing my family well in this weird time that we're in. I appreciate all of you guys, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.